Welcome, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Mechabellum Engine Room Chat. I'm your host, Stoney. And today, we are going to be talking about some of the recent changes to the game, what is happening currently in the meta. We have two very special guests here for this episode. We have Mr. Bearlike himself, but we also invited Mr. Ensako here to join us a bit later to talk about the meta that's happening within the game. So grab your coffee, grab your wine, depending on where you are in the world, and let's get this show started. And as always, we have the Twitch and YouTube starting at the same time. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, just feel free to pop that in and I'll pick them up. Before we go too far, just want to make sure that my audio is great, my video is great. And let's just go right into that. Sparty asks, Sako face reveal? No, unfortunately, it's not going to be a Sako face reveal today, but we'll try to work on that in the near future. One thing to note, I feel like my camera is kind of going on and off, and this is like super annoying. The reason, let me just fix that real quick. Let's see here. Discord web is giving me a lot of grief this morning, and it continues to have a bit of issue for some reason today. Let me just make sure that this is nice and live for everyone to see. All right, there we go. Now, before we jump into the main course of today's event, I just want to do a few quick updates on what's happened in the last 2 weeks. So first update is that the Mag 1 Season 2 is now arriving at the semifinals. The semifinals will start next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. We have 4 players that have made into the semifinals. We have a Gripno Coma, Forgotten Arbiter, Ensako, and Flower Fairy. So if you want to see some of the best in Mechabellum duke it out, come watch the stream at mag1.live next Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Another very exciting news is that the patch preview for the upcoming patch will be available to the public on Thursday, February 13th. So that's the day before the Valentine's Day. Make sure that you check out the content that's on YouTube. I think the streamers are going to be releasing some information. There's a lot to unpack in this particular patch, fundamentally changing the game essentially. So you want to make sure that you're there and catch the latest of what's going to be happening to the Mechabellum game. All right, so with that, I'd like to invite our first guest of the day, Mr. Bearlike. Thank you for bearing with me. Today it took a little bit longer to get everything set up with the Discord web, but we made it work. So I had a few questions from the community, and I also had a very special treat today. So maybe I'll just go through the questions first, and then we'll jump into the special treat, and then we'll bring Sako on here to talk about meta. So now that the game, it's been a while since the last patch, and of course we have new patches that are coming up. Of the new patches that are coming up, what is one feature that you're most looking forward to? And now that I asked this question, I realize you may or may not be able to say certain things, but maybe let's reframe that question. What feature would you like to see most being added, which may or may not be coming into next patch, so that we don't let too many things out of the bag?
Okay, how about this? The undo button, it's not gonna come in next patch, but we are doing it. My lead engineer finally got the time to work on the undo button, and it have been progressing pretty smoothly. So the undo button is likely to come in the not next patch, maybe the patch after next patch, maybe I think season 3 we may have the undo button.
That's very exciting news.
Promise it.
That's very exciting news because because every time we do these engineering talk, there's always somebody with a question. Where's the undo button? So I'm happy that
Yeah.
it is being worked on, and I know this is a pretty strong request from both the English as well as the Chinese community. So I'm very happy that this is being worked on.
Yeah. We are developing it. So that's the that's the
Fantastic.
feature I was personally most excited about too. But about next patch, that's the
Fantastic.
feature I was patch 1.3. That actually I think the patch gonna be one of the most impactful patch in the history of Mechabellum.
Yeah, no kidding. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody. I mean, I could say this that everybody in the testing server has been having a blast with this new patch, and then most of everybody have really no idea what to do with this new patch because there are just so many changes, fundamental changes to the game. So very excited, and I think this is for the better. I think the right now what I've personally experienced, I think are fairly balanced. They're new, but it's not something that is game breaking. So very much looking forward to it. I had another question about the round drops, and the question was just be so we did some changes in the last patch with the unit drops and also the round drops. We removed unit drop like units like the scorpion from earlier rounds, and then later on we removed oil as a ability drop. Will you continue to tweak on things like these going forward? And what is the next thing that you're looking to tweak from these drops?
I do believe that first we first we need to evaluate the new hunt, the hunt's impact to the game. Then we can decide what we would like to change about all the round drop system. There are many changes we may do. For example, we may want to make certain spell be just one. May want to make, but that is something we haven't decided on. It's like something we have been what's the word? We are experimenting. So there's not much planned change to the drop system. All the unit drop, there's no plan to change them. We are not very satisfied. We still think there are flaws of the system, but right now we don't have idea of how to improve it yet. So it's just something we will monitor. We'll be monitoring.
Okay. One of the viewers asked a very interesting question. You notice that on the Rhino, in the model of the Rhino, right, the Rhino has wheels. So his question was, was there ever an idea for like a speed boost tech? You know, the zealots from StarCraft 2, right? The charge ability and just go charging into the enemy. Was there ever a thought about making something out of those wheels?
Yes. There other than the wheels, actually Rhino have like jet engine
A jet
in the
engine.
back of
Yes.
yes. Yeah. So we were gonna do a charge tag for the Rhino, so it's dealing area damage and all that stuff. But because Rhino charging to tower is feels too oppressive to lots of players, so we just hold off on that idea. So basically, we don't want Rhino being a unit that are only good in aggro situation. So we are looking to remade Rhino completely in the future. And before that happens, I don't think the charge tag gonna be released. So, but it is something that it's like, why not make the unit with two chainsaw on there, on two saw blade on its hand to charge to. It's like it feels cool, but balance wise, it may not be a good idea. But I hope we will figure it out in the future.
I love to see something like that. Maybe I don't know if you're ever considering doing like text specific for a certain unit mode like FFA. Right, this could be a very fun type of game that if this is allowed to do. But yeah, I agree. Having like instant speed boost might be a little broken, especially if you give them a shield or armor item. Then it becomes quite difficult to handle. Um,
Yeah.
All right. I originally had two questions regarding unit balancing, but since Sako will be joining us in a few, I'm going to just save those two questions for later. We'll ask that question to both Sako and Bearlike. But I do want to know, because we've been hearing about this 2v2 style tournament that's coming up.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about what we can expect for these tournaments?
Yeah. I actually can tell you a lot about the 2v2 tournament. I save most of the other changes to our influencers for them to reveal. But since the 2v2 tournament, the 2v2 tournament, I will reveal the details because all our testers won't be able to like play with it too much. The 2v2 tournament, there will be 3 rounds of the tournament. So and player will be divided into different groups. Every group will have 16 players, so 8 team, 16 players. After 3 rounds, we have a winner of the tournament. So the tournament won't be that long. It's one of the shortest tournaments, only 3 rounds. And each round there will be a different map. It is randomized. So 3, the standard, the compact, and the stage map. Each round we will have a different map. So you need to master all 3 maps to be able to win the tournament. So
oh wow,
yeah,
that's a big thing. I know most players right now only play compact, so if you're practicing for the 2v2 tournament that's coming in next patch, you want to make sure to practice the other maps as well. Good to know.
Yeah, actually not in higher MMR, players do prefer compact more, but in lower MMR, it actually the standard is the most played map, and overall for the whole population, actually the standard was played a little bit more.
Interesting.
But the Sage map is like not. Sage map is played the least. But yes, for high MMR players, they do play compact more. There's a trend. The higher your MMR, the more likely you are playing compact. Yeah, we have some theories about why this is the case. Maybe it's because the compact map is more like is more intense and is more similar to 1v1 map. That's my theory. I don't know.
It's actually the opposite. For me, like what you said is more similar to 1v1. The one that's the most similar to 1v1 is standard, right? Because there's such a big gap between the two players. It's almost like just 2 games of 1v1 happening at the same time. I like to play compact because you get to mobile beacon, and right away you get to see the effect. So it becomes, do we
Yeah.
defend the center tower or do we flank from the outside? That was a big question. In standard, that's not a question because you can't very quickly get to your partner's opponent's tower, right? But in compact you could. Um
Well, I guess that's a play style thing because in compact, in standard, actually I get to utilize the mobile beacon more in standard because I can put flank
yeah.
in the middle, flank
Yeah.
unit in the middle, and mobile beacon back and forth. I
I
guess
know
that's a play
I
style
noticed
thing.
you've done like a round one crawler with the mobile beacon over to the tower. I've tried that a couple of times. It's really fun. Not fun for my
Yeah,
opponents, but it was really fun.
yeah.
I think with
I do believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think Siege is the least played?
I think Sage. It's like because Sage is not uh, it's a asynchronized map. The two team actually have different positions, so many player may think it is like not fair.
Hmm.
Although some players think the middle is stronger, some players think the outside position is stronger, but neither. But the people are thinking it is may not be very uh, fair, um, and I think that's probably is the reason.
Mm.
Personally, I like standard the most, and the stage the second, and the compact uh, the least. But
Hmm.
I do believe most high MMR player actually have it backward. So is the complete opposite of my likeness. So yeah. But I do think that some map, when we shine more spotlight to those map, uh, some player may change their mind. That's why I'm very excited about the 2v2 tournament because uh, it will have three different type of map and everybody especially the high MMR player, will
Hmm.
try to practice more with the map they do not usually play. So I'm excited about the 2v2 map. I think it's gonna also change the 2v2 um, ranked play a little bit
Hmm.
because people will be exploring more map types.
For sure. Now, with the 2v2 tournament, you do have to come in with an existing partner. You cannot come in with a random, like you cannot join the tournament if you're
Yeah.
just by your own, right?
Yes. You'll need a teammate. You need
Hmm.
a you need to have a pre-made team.
Okay.
I,
And yeah, go ahead.
I yeah, I just think the random teammate may be too toxic for a tournament environment. That's
It
my
might be.
yeah. Yeah.
Now, right now, the 1v1 tournament splits the groups based on their combat power. Is that the same case for 2v2? Is it like an average combat power type of thing? Or total combat power?
Um, it's split right now. The 1v1 also split players into group with MMR. They
Okay.
have changed it a while ago. The 2v2 tournament will also be grouped based on MMR.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have for 2v2. I think this is very exciting. I know I play a lot of 2v2 with my friends, but never, we always just do like a internal mini tournament, but very excited to see this is being introduced to the wider audience.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
Now, yesterday, my friend Sparty sent me a link, and I want to share this with you guys, and I want to ask a couple questions with Bearlike. So, we actually found Sparty found a video from the 2017 October that shows the 0.1. I guess that was pre-alpha of the
Yeah.
Mechabellum game. So I'm gonna play real quick here, and this is what it looked like back in 2017. So, so that was interesting. One thing I noticed is that there's a lot of similarities to what you had in 2017 and what we have now. I think the map formation with the main area and the two flanks on the side, that was already there in 2017.
Yeah.
The pathing feels very similar. But I'm curious, what are some of the biggest changes that you've felt, or the biggest improvement that you've done to the game since that pre-alpha version? Something that you were extremely proud of.
Yeah. There's lots of change. There's tons of change. Have come since that 0.1 version. It's like, for example, there's a flank area in the back of your battlefield, so you actually can flank your opponent from the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest change is that there's two big change. One is if you look at the graphic a little bit closer, you will see there's a lot of poker signs
Yes, there were.
on all the units. So it was initially it was a game about synergy. So you need like certain synergy give certain effect. It's more like the auto chess and the TFTs,
Mm-hmm.
where you actually need synergy among your units.
Mm-hmm.
But this version actually is like 2 years earlier than the Dota Auto Chess, 3 years earlier than TFTs. So it actually
You were the
we didn't go
pioneers.
for that route. Yeah, but in the end, I like formations more than synergies on unit. So I want it more to be more strategic. I want the game to have more strategy in it. So that's where that's when we decided that maybe the synergy among the unit should be discovered by players on their own, not forced with certain like rules. And maybe the formation and the strategy should be in the center of the stage. So that's why we removed the first synergy stuff.
Hmm.
Then there's the second big change is back then you actually can move your unit whenever you want.
Oh, like so they're
Um,
not auto pathing. You can like control them.
no.
Oh, no.
During the deployment phase. So
Oh, so
you
there's no permanence. So next turn you can move all your units to one side, for example, if you want to.
yes, that will yeah. I actually take us a year to understand that this is bad for strategy.
Yeah.
Um, it's like well, it's not we actually realize it is bad for strategy. We just didn't find the solution. We tried all kinds of solution where like there was a button where you once you click it, your unit will get a shield, but it can no longer be moved during deployment phase. So we tried all kind of incentive, uh, all kind of approach to incentivize players to like lock their unit down, so the unit cannot move. So we tried lots of different approach. Um, but in the end, it's like we actually think about the game goal. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese name Weiqi,
Which, yeah.
where it's very strategic, and it have this feature wherever you place down a piece, you cannot move it.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally it's like let's just make it very extreme, where you just cannot move a unit after except for the first round. You recruit them. It certainly introduce a lot of problem.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the game more bring more strategy into the game, but it brought more strategy into the game, but it created a lot of problem. For example, it's the first round became much more important.
Mm-hmm.
This problem actually is still in the game right now. The round one because there's every piece can be moved,
Mm-hmm.
and but round two, all those pieces cannot be moved. So round one is have the least strategy of the game, and the complaint about aggro, I think it's mainly because of this. This is the one big issue of the game. We are slowly trying to address it, but I don't think we are where I would like the game to be for round one. But we will try to improve it in the future.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, it would have been such a different game if you can move every unit every single round. I think the luck factor will come into play in a really big way, right? Because right now, even though we
Yeah.
can't move all the units, but there's certain units with jump drive technologies has the similar effect. And sometimes you just don't know where, seven boats are going to jump when you have a nuke as
Yes.
an ability, right? You're trying to guess like, okay, is it going to be left? Is it going to be right? I mean, it's fun, but at the same time, it's very heavily luck oriented. So personally, I think it would be a very different game, and I prefer the current game with a bit of a permanence because it shows the player that there are consequences to your actions.
Yeah, true. True. That's exactly what I think. Yeah.
One thing I noticed is that the giants back in the day, at least in from this
Yeah.
video, it feels like they're
Yeah.
the same unit but just with different guns. I was watching this video, I think this is like 0.2, and then we have two very similar looking giants. One is shooting laser and the other one is, I guess, the precursor of the Vulcan is got a flamethrower. Are they the same units or they have some sort of weapon swapping capability, like you can almost customize gear?
Back back then, all the units that was all the unit wasn't created by our artist.
Hmm.
Back then, we don't have artists in the team, so
Ah,
we bought this unit, a Unity asset store package, where it have all kind of different um, uh, parts of a robot.
right.
So we then we assemble it like Legos into different units. so so it's like because they all were assembled from the same Lego pack. So it's
They
some
look
of them will
similar.
will feel very similar to each other.
Yeah. I recognize some of the model. I played another indie game. I think it was called Mecha Wars. Um,
Yeah.
it's like a turn by turn, like a XCOM. It's got like a square based chess type of game, and I recognize some of these models. So wow, it did come a
Yeah,
long way.
it's a
Yeah,
good packaging.
yeah. So they got the Unity packaging. Wow, that is super cool. All right, we are gonna jump out of the trip down to memory lane. We're gonna talk about what's happening in the future. Um, Mr. Sacco, are you still there?
Hello, hello.
All
Hi.
right. We're gonna bring Sacco in here. Sacco, as all of you know, he is one of the best players in the world. I think he's currently number one, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You're just climbed all the way to the top of the MMR leaderboard.
Perhaps indeed, yeah.
Perhaps, yes. He's been slaying opponents left and right from all different servers, and he's also the voice behind the meta report produced by Mag1. So today we invited Sako here to give us a bit more insight on what's happening in the game meta right now. And of course, Bearlike is here to support with some of the in-game data that Bearlike is seeing. So the first question for Sako is, what have been some of the stronger meta in the last 2 weeks that you've seen?
Honestly, I think I like the point of the meta seems pretty balanced overall. Like there's not too many or there's very few like very oppressive strategies. I think the only thing that's like you're seeing a lot more, at least at high MMR, is just like fortress spam. Like literally the entire strategy is you just buy fortresses and that's it. Like you don't even buy Mustangs, you just buy forts and then you buy Fang production and then you just keep buying them and then it's so efficient and hard to counter that a lot of end game boards get there. So like, and it does feel like the counter to the strategy is to like not get it online, right? Like you want to close the game out round 6, round 7 to beat it. But honestly, yeah, that's the only real like super strong strategy I think at the moment, like at least in aggro and defensive games.
How do you defend against force spam, especially when a force like when they get the mass-produced forts? It just becomes such an overwhelming force at like round 5 because now you can make cheap forts and you get fans and you get everything else.
Yeah, like well, the real maybe real answer is you play mass for produce forts better than your opponent, maybe. But outside of that, like, cause I don't like. It's not thing is, it's not always good to take the mirror because you might be at a disadvantage off rip. Like if those watch the Mag one, I played against Flower Fairy, and then I opened like Sabertooth Storm, and then round 3 it's a Fortress drop, and I'm just like, what do I guess I have to take the mirror, but like I'm already at a disadvantage because he has Stormcallers and I have to sell my units. He doesn't. He has more Fangs, etc. So I think you just got to know how to play maximum tempo. Like because the Fortress player, it's a negative tempo move. It takes a while to get going. Like it's not scary until you get like multiple techs on your fortresses and you need lots of forts. So like you can do a elite recruit a war factory with armor, or you can do like armor field maintenance wraiths like to cheese out and close out. So I think just tempo the game out, or even like target lock steel balls sometimes is an interesting answer because people put their forts on the line and you can easily get into targets. Like if you get a high level steel ball drop or a wide steel ball drop, it seems like you can kill a bunch of forts off rip basically.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are interested in that steel ball strategy, there's a great video on Sako's YouTube against Apruchi. It's just an amazing round with the steel ball. So check that out. Bearlike, what have you seen in terms of numbers about the current win rate and usage rate of forts?
Actually, I guess it's like super high MMR, the fortress spam probably is like so only very strong in like super high MMRs. So from the data we collect, we actually cannot say that fortress is too strong. It is one of the strongest. It is one of the strongest giant, but because all giants actually don't have a very high win rate, and the fortress is like there with Vulcan. So it's not that from the data I don't really say it, but also from my own experience, because I'm 2K, I guess Sako is like 2.4K, and so he's melee playing with 2.3K. I don't really met those players a lot, and also because this patch I do believe aggro plays a little bit better this patch, because we removed audio from the card drop, so tempo play is like much like a lot more stronger. So in a lot of tournament, I saw that we don't hit the fortress spam phase. So it's like the game ends in earlier round, and both players is playing tempo strats. But because I haven't got the latest data, because we were having the Chinese New Year holiday, I needed to check the data. Maybe fortress slowly became a problem, but I think Sako's overall assessment that this patch is pretty balanced is I think it's accurate. The data also suggests that, but there is something it didn't reflect in the data, but from my own experience, I do believe that Phantom Ray in the lower MMR can be a problem. It's like there's this delayed Phantom Ray dress. Lots of players do not know how to deal with it until you hit like 2K. Then players start understand how to solve that problem. So the Phantom Ray spam won't win you any tournament, but it can be like very strong when you're climbing the ladder. That's something I want to address. Also, because the next patch, the Hound is changing so much about the game, and all the other changes change a lot of the game. So we are pretty. I don't think we will change much balance wise at any big balance change until we understand all the impact of the Hound and the unlock.
For sure.
Change, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Quick comment on the Phantom Ray. Yes, I 100% agree that Phantom Rays are scary if you don't know what to do and how to deal with it. There is a running post on the Mechabellum Discord titled Ray Spam, started by Apricot Scrub. I think he was like the OG Phantom Ray, at least one of the oldest Phantom Ray spammer that I followed. And he's been consistently taking down not just 2,000 or 1,800 MMR players, but also like 2,200 MMR players. So if you're interested in checking out Ray spam, that's the post for you. Sako, as a top player, what would you do against Ray spam, like delayed Ray spam?
Honestly, you just start off with Phoenixes, and then if they actually like hard commit to Phantom Ray spam, you just buy like anti-missile Mustangs, and then it shuts down everything entirely. It kind of makes it, I would say hard to commit to raise because of that factor alone. Just like anti-missile Mustangs makes you so sad, or like even War Factory AM. Of course, you can always get burst, but even War Factory AM can sometimes just shut it down entirely.
Absolutely, and I think AM Mustang is the key. A lot of the lower MMR players just don't realize how good AM is right now in the game. If you have a rocket problem, you got a unit. You got a very specific unit to solve that problem. Sako, in the last meta report, you mentioned in the current aggro meta, Sabertooth Arclight is the way to go. And I've been running, say, half of my games are into Sabertooth Arclight. I guess my question is, what do you recommend when you're playing into Sabertooth Arclight? How do you overcome something like that?
So actually, that was like, I guess, the initial meta report at the time. But now that I've played more of the meta, and I think Bearlike mentioned it on the stream, but like Sabertooth isn't that crazy because like it's definitely strong. Depends on your openers, but it has more losing matchups than it does have winning matchups, right? Like you beat spiders for sure. Like you hard win against spiders, but other than that, you lose to storms and you lose to steel balls. And then the sledge matchup is like a bit questionable, or like it's like a neutral matchup. So I actually would say Saber, is at a lower like unit rate, or like what do you call it?
Win rate?
I guess, or pick rate, at least for me,
Pick
because
rate.
it just steel balls and sledges feel a lot safer. But if you're up against it, the best strat, and it's similar to countering spiders, is just Fortress, because there's no other like. You outscale the Sabertooth. Like, yes, it has double shot, but that's all it has, right? It has double shot, and you can tempo with it for sure. Like, you go Mustang HE for the Fang production, and hopefully your Saber's level, but like the likelihood of that actually happening is rare, and the defender can oil you to get back in the game, and then with enough fortresses, again, like you just outscale the Sabers.
Sure. You also mentioned that the Arclight is currently dominating the meta. Do you think it's dominating because of its inherent strengths, or is it just because there are no other alternatives, especially in the later rounds?
I think it's also a mix of the game has changed a lot than before unit drops, right? Like tempo is so important now, more than ever, right? And that's what makes spells a lot stronger. And that also like ties into the Arclights because it's cheap, right? You have it round 1 and you can just close out the game with Arclights alone. Or if your Arclights end up falling off, because there's always a fall off point with Arclights, let's say round 7 where there's just too much chaff on the board, there's Fang Shield, there's loose crawlers, all that, so you end up needing another source like Mustangs to assist it. So I think it's a mix of just the state of the game tempo wise, and the alternatives have a lot of downsides. Like sledgehammers are weak to a lot of units, or wraiths are weak to certain units. I think wraiths honestly are more interesting now, and also a lot more people are playing headbutt. So even spiders, I think, although there is downside, spider headbutts are very strong. But it's more so just like Arclights have minimal downside compared to alternatives, and tempo is very important. So you end up just like, oh, I have Arclights round 1 instead of like waiting for a Vulcan, let's say in standard.
Yeah. And of course, there's EM at the very later rounds that I always love. Just hit the button and all of a sudden your opponent's front line stop working. And there's no other units really they can get that.
Yeah, but I think the carry Arclights, like I think last meta was like clearly dominated by Arclight Worm, but I think with the nerfs to the Arclight, like the experience, I think it actually just nerfs the Arclight Worm strat overall, because the main threat is like you're threatening like this like high HP unit, the Worm, but on top of that you have like the slowly scaling Arclight line where if it gets to like round 7, you have EMP and Elite Marksman, and you just kill everything on the board, more or less. But now it feels like you don't see it as much because it's harder to get online. So the Worm strats feels like, I haven't played too much Standard this patch, but it just feels like you're seeing a lot less of it and more Vulcan Marksman, I think, at least at higher MMR.
What are some forgotten builds that can be strong? So, for example, I know Bearlike is a big fan of Assault Marksman. Is Assault Marksman in a good space right now, or what are some other forgotten builds that could potentially make a comeback?
I love Assault Marksman, it's so fun, but I think again with Arclights being everywhere, everyone has access to like easy EMP, so you're like you can't have any more fun with that strat. But it's so good. Like you get subsidized marksman or extended range marksman, and you just spam them, and then you have the shooting squad with your assault marksman. You just have so much chaff. It's actually like very scary to play against if you like don't handle it immediately. But I think one underrated strat would be Fire Badger Phoenix. Like it's a very weak to Fortress Anti-Air, of course, but it's a tempo game. You immediately click charge shot. You're hidden behind your Fire Badgers, and Fire Badger range is like 200, which is so cheap. And by the time they get charge shot Phoenixes, maybe you can get some Wraiths to tank for the Fortress AA, and that's even more tempo up your alley. Or you can just sell. Like if they commit Fortress AA, they're making all their other techs more expensive, so you have room to like War Factory or Melter or whatever you have you. So I think that just Fire Badger Phoenix tempo feels very strong in headbutts and defensive scenarios, or even in aggro scenarios.
Nice. Gotta try that sometimes. What about you, Bear? Like you like to play a lot of weird stuff. What do you think? What do you find strong these days?
My usually go-to was you guys know it's the Assault Marksman and the Lynx Sledgehammer, and my recent favorite is Phantom Ray flanking Phantom Ray
With burst,
and
right?
with burst, with cloak, with burst flanking Phantom Ray. You put an arc like in the flank, and then you add a Phantom Ray there. It's very annoying. So I like all kind of annoying strats. And also the last is like I think elite specialist with fan spam. It actually is pretty strong. The fan spam was like countered by Maston, but with addition of Phantom Ray, actually fan spam is like you can't just all-in build fans, but if you mix it up, I have used that strat, beat some 2.2k players, 2.3k players. The fan spam actually kind of not as dominating as like some patches, but it's kind of back. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds fun, especially with the armor Phantom Rays now in the equation, that you can pull some Mustangs away from the fans. Yeah, so it sounds pretty fun. Sacco, what unit do you feel is currently underperforming? So we're excluding all the niche unit like the Rhino and Hacker, but the main standard unit, what unit do you feel like they're currently underperforming, and why?
I would say, funny enough, the Phantom Ray is a bit underperforming outside, like, just because the anti-missile is so strong. I think like Phantom Ray has a role, at least with armor. That's definitely very, like, if you're any Mustang board, you can always punish with like an armor Ray turn, because if you anti-missile armored Rays, it doesn't matter. They're still tanking, right? They're still armored units. So I would say that unit feels a little bit underperforming, at least at higher MMR. And Raidens, I think, also feel like Raidens can be oppressive if they get there, but like it feels like sometimes you even lose to Rays. I've seen, like, it's not that straightforward to counter Rays with Raidens, because you have stealth, you have also shield, and then you have tempo on your side as well, right? Because it's a giant unit. So it feels like Raidens, like, I really love the unit. I remember just spamming it when on release because it was so strong, but it feels like you want alternatives, like into sledge spam or into like ball spam. You might just want to go Scorpions or Hackers because it's a safer bet. Like, you get immediately online, because even sometimes balls, like level 2 balls, it takes like 2 shots, I think. I forget the math, but sometimes it can just get out of control in that regard. Like boards where you think Raiden should work, it's like, yeah, but like I'm always behind and I need to catch up, and then I need like 3 techs or like at least 2 techs to like get it online, and then you're also weak to like a heavy armor Rhino play or like a War Factory finisher type of move. So I think those 2 units, at least for me, I've felt a little bit underperforming.
And I agree with Raiden. I feel like Raiden is sort of a single track type of unit. It's not great against small units. It's not great against units that are too heavy. It's okay into medium-sized units, but the problem is, in order for it to be effective, it just takes time. You need to have range at some point, especially if your chaff clear already got range. You need to have great chaff clear because you don't want Raiden stuck shooting at crawlers. And it's 400 giant units, so it's expensive. So I played Raiden a couple times and mostly into Phantom Rays, and I find that the real only useful time to play Raiden is like round 8 plus, where I can take double tech on Raidens. But before then, I stick with my charge shot Phoenix and Mustangs. What do you think, Bearlike? From your data, what are some units that are currently underperforming? Maybe low win rate, or
data-wise is actually the newest data I haven't seen, but the old data-wise, it's Raiden and Overlord.
Raiden overall.
Raiden and Overlord is Raiden, I think you guys have covered it. Overlord is mainly because the price increase. Generally, because cheaper unit is better for tempo. So basically, most the expensive unit have a lower peak rate and win rate. But Overlord is especially low. So from my personal experience, I also tend to not play Overlord in most scenario. The 500, I think, is a very big psychological barrier for that unit, and it also have similar problems like Raiden. All-in is actually worse for Overlord sometimes, but Overlord do have more HP. But I'm not that. Generally, overall, this patch is pretty balanced, and since we are adding a frontline chaff clearing unit, the Hound, I would imagine it will work very well for to pair it with Overlord and Raiden, because it's cheap, it's chaff, it's frontline, and it's also chaff clear. But this is just my it's just what I think might happen. Truth to be told, most of the time my prediction do not end up correct. It's like what I think is strong will be strong in next patch, most likely won't be. So I don't. But the next patch can shake up the meta a lot.
For sure. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, the patch preview is coming up on the 13th, which is this coming Thursday, and then the patch will go online the Thursday after on the 20th. So by the time we hit our next engine room chat on the 23rd, we should have plenty of data to talk about what the heck is happening in this new patch of Mechabellum with the new unit. So very much looking forward to that. And for now, that's all the questions I have for you, Sako and Bearlike. Any final words, any suggestions to players that are climbing the ladder right now in terms of meta?
Just buy some fortresses. I heard it's a good unit, Maybe don't buy too many.
I will try that. I didn't know it's that strong. I definitely want to try it.
Especially if you get mass-produced fortress, that's when you're going to the moon, because, well, you can have, turn 5, you have, 7 forts, basically, right? And then you can start borrowing, and your opponent will not be happy, I think.
Okay, I would definitely gonna try it. Maybe that's why I'm not hating 2.4K.
we didn't
honestly, yeah. Yeah, everyone at 2.4, I was backseating Forgotten Arbiter in his tournament, and every game we were just trolling, oh, we're gonna buy fortresses again. We end up selling our steel balls or whatever starting unit. It doesn't matter, and we just buy forts. Oh, he's going boats, forts. He's going Raidens, forts. He has any unit, forts. I don't know. That's just what we were doing, but yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna go buy some more forts. And with that, we're gonna conclude the episode 4 of the Engine Room Chat. And as always, if you have any suggestions on the format or new ideas or have some questions, just shoot me a message on Discord or on YouTube. And thank you all for watching. And I will see you on the battlefield. Thank you.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.